Hey everyone, welcome to the Wrestling Experience.
where all the titles are defended on this pay-per-view, except a certain few of them are not
Yeah,
for
so
some
all of
reason.
them, but not all of them, essentially. But we are here to recap Clash of Champions. I'm Jazz.
I'm Janny.
And what a pay-per-view. Honestly, I texted you this last night saying that they always deliver when it comes to their B level pay-per-views, and this one was no different. I thought that um, the beginning was incredible. The ending was really great. The ambulance match was amazing. And then in the middle, like the matches were decent as well. Like I don't think that there were any bad matches in this pay per view.
Yeah, they did the sandwich thing again, where the beginning and the end are amazing, but the meat of the sandwich maybe was a bit lacking.
Well, so we're gonna
But
jump
overall,
right
strong
into
pay-per-view.
the pre-show. The pre-show actually got changed up. It was supposed to be Asuka versus Zelina, but they changed it to Cesaro and Nakamura versus the Lucha House Party. We had predicted that the Lucha House Party would implode and the team would break up, but it didn't look like that happened.
Well, to be fair, that was when we thought it was not on the pre-show. Given that it is on the pre-show, nothing of importance was going to happen, and this was probably the best match to be on the pre-show. I think the reason for the switch was because basically Nikki Cross and Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler were not medically cleared to compete.
Yeah.
So all the women's title matches, except for one, which was the pre-show match, were canceled. So I guess they had to put one women's match on the card, and that's why the switch happened, I guess. So yeah, we
Yeah.
both predicted that Cesaro and Nak would win and Lucha House Party would implode. Cesaro and Nak did win, but Lucha House Party did look like they were doing some good teamwork in the in during the match, and they had quite an advantage early on. And I thought it was funny that Grand Metalik, the only guy who was in matches, one-on-one matches against Cesaro and Nakamura for the last 2 weeks, was not in the match, and instead they put the two guys who hate each other in the match. So okay, sure,
But see, like that's why I was like, that's even more of a reason for them to implode. But I guess I don't know. I guess maybe they're
yeah,
saving it up for another moment or something. Or you're right, like because maybe it got moved to the pre-show, they decided to kind of maybe put a halt to that for a little while. Who knows what's going on with the whole tag team scene right now? So maybe they're actually
yeah,
realizing that like, oh wait, we actually don't have any tag teams, and we need
they
to keep
literally
them.
don't.
So we're gonna
This match
jump.
was fine. It was like 10 minutes, right? And it ends with Nakamura and Cesaro being too strong with the Cesaro swing into a kick on Kalisto, and that was it.
Unsurprisingly,
Nothing crazy.
on the main show, we start with the ladder match for the IC title, and it was quite a
Wait, wait,
banger.
wait.
Yes.
Don't forget about John Cena narrating the opening
Oh,
about being a
yes.
champion and wanting to be the champion and wanting to be the one that's being gunned after. It's quite epic, I must say.
John
But not as
Cena.
epic as this ladder match that you're going to talk about, right?
Yeah, so what I found really cool is that all three of them got to really showcase, what they're all about, and especially Sami Zayn. Like I was like, oh, since he came back, he hasn't been doing Sami Zayn stuff, but we got to see him do like a very very cool looking flip onto the outside. But the beginning of the match, AJ Styles, he's having his way with Jeff Hardy and Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn is bouncing around like a pinball when being thrown at the ladder. The action gets taken outside, and then Hardy hits a poetry in motion on AJ Styles into the barricade, and then Sammy follows that up with a Helluva Kick. Just some crazy intense action to open up the pay per view, and that's exactly what we were looking for. And then what's really funny though is that at one point Sami Zayn is trying to climb the ladder, and then AJ Styles takes out a mini ladder all of a sudden, and he just throws it at him, and I'm like,
Like
oh,
a javelin. That was amazing.
I'm wondering if they used that ladder in the WLC match.
It has to be one of the ladders from the WLC match. Come on.
And then
That was a legendary match.
And then there was a spot which I knew what was going to happen. Sammy basically takes a ladder and he makes a bridge in between the apron and the announce table. And unfortunately, he's the one that gets taken out because Jeff Hardy kind of just
That's usually how it
insane,
goes.
insane though. Jeff Hardy at his age is able to kind of pull out those moves, but he climbs another ladder and he hits a swanton bomb on Sami Zayn. And I'm like, how are they alive? Like Sammy's
The
back
sound.
Sammy's
The
back was
sound was crazy.
full of like blood. Like he was just kind of I like I'm sure he's still hurting today. Um,
Yeah.
and
Another spot that was good for during that setup of making a ladder to bridge was AJ jumping onto the announcer table and doing a moonsault that turns into a reverse DDT on
yeah,
Sami Zayn. That was also really nice.
that was
And
really
another
choreographed.
spot that
Yeah.
happened a bit earlier was when Jeff was trying to climb the ladder for the title, and Sami Zayn was tipping the ladder over, and Jeff was
And
climbing
he
it such that
slithered.
he would end
Yeah,
up on top of it. He slithers onto it, but eventually Sammy just knocks it all the way over, and he just tumbles, and the ladder falls with him.
Yeah.
So Jeff took a really bad fall there.
Yeah, and the match basically takes a turn when Sami Zayn is kind of livid. He reaches for something in his jacket, and then we see that he actually has 2 sets of handcuffs. And basically, he handcuffs Jeff Hardy's ear, so his ear hole thing to the ladder.
The piercing, yeah.
Yeah, and then he's kind of unable to move.
Tiny ladder.
Yeah,
kind of like not the tiny ladder that was used as a javelin, but not the big ladder.
A medium-sized ladder
in the middle. Yeah. Middle ladder, and he tries to do the same to Styles, but Styles he wants to handcuff to the ropes, but he is unsuccessful. Styles reverses with a suplex, but then they end up cuffed to each other, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And Sammy was laughing the whole time, and he's completely out. So AJ has no choice but to kind of pick him up and carry him as he climbs the ladder. We have Jeff Hardy now, and this is I don't know.
Crazy.
I wanted to cringe because he's basically holding the ladder, trying not to rip his ear off, slowly going into the ring to try to stop AJ. And during all this commotion, Sami Zayn pulls out the key, unhooks himself from the handcuff, and handcuffs AJ to the ladder support where it folds. And this is where Sami Zayn is able to pick up the win. He takes both titles, and we were totally wrong in our prediction, but totally happy on the inside.
But that's the thing, because we said that we think that Jeff is going to win, but our heart wanted Sami to win, right? So I'm really happy that Sami actually is the winner. We're still wrong. But the key, I don't know if you knew, and they showed in the replay, but the key was actually in his mouth.
I missed that. Nice.
Yeah. So
where did he pull that out?
Michael Cole, he kind of made that point where, I mean, I'm assuming that the key was with the ref, and when Sami was down, the ref probably gave him the key, put it in his mouth, and
yeah, that's probably what happened.
I'm pretty sure that he wasn't wrestling the whole match with a key in his mouth. But yes, so Sami Zayn is.
Well, no.
Yes. So Sami Zayn is the winner.
Maybe put the key in his mouth, like when he grabbed the handcuffs.
Whatever. We all know that it's the referee that gave him the key. So after the match, Kayla interviews him, but he stops her and he's like, "Listen, I never recaptured anything because it was mine all along." And he calls himself your winner and still IC champion, Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
So
and this was like the longest match on the card, right? It was like almost a half hour. It was almost a half hour. 7:40 when this match was over now, and it was amazing. What a great start to the show.
So we're going to jump to a quick backstage segment with R-Truth. He's holding little Jimmy's hand, and he's in the referee room. And
he's in disguise, too. He's like a lumberjack type person. He had like long hair and a wig, and he stumbles into the referee room, like you said.
Yeah, and then basically he's like, "Oh, my bad, little Jimmy led us astray." And then Drew Gulak is in the background. He's stretching. He's doing his lunges. Doing lunges of all things, and he just rolls him up for the win. Yep. So Drew Gulak is your new champion. We're gonna jump into Asuka versus Selena Vega. We see Samoa Joe is back on commentary, and it's really, really good to see him.
Was he looking like $1 million?
I feel like you've stolen that line from me, and it's unfair. But
I will never use it again.
Asuka is basically toying with Zelina at the beginning of the match as if she was underestimating her. But this match was basically carried by Asuka. Like the story of the match was that, Zelina was taking advantage of Asuka's injured left arm, and she kind of threw her into the steel steps with it, and she put her in the arm bar. She even followed it up with a top rope Hurricane Rana. It was a valiant effort from Zelina, but after a few reverse pinfall attempts from both of them, Asuka just kind of brought her close to her, and she just kind of puts her in an Asuka lock easily.
Where she taps immediately as well. And to talk about the injured shoulder, I think it was very early where Zelina got a kick on her. Like she kicked her in the shoulder, and that's where the
but she kept holding her arm and her hand and everything like that. Yeah.
After that kick, I think it was a kick, some sort of thing. But this wasn't very long. It was about 7 minutes.
It was decent.
A solid match.
Yeah.
Yeah, Selena showed off that she can wrestle. She's very good.
For sure.
It's just we knew she wasn't going to win. As we predicted, Asuka picks up the win.
Yeah.
Quite convincingly there.
And post-match, Asuka's interviewed, and she said that, Selena Vega is kind of like a firecracker. She's very explosive and stuff. Asuka kind of goes in to shake her hand, but Zelina's like, no, like, I'm going to bow. So she kind of does the bowing motion. Asuka bows as well, but then she kicks her, and she beats her up. And Asuka's livid, and she's basically yelling in Japanese.
She's yelling on the mic. Yeah, this was nice. I mean, I kind of wanted to see the little bit of sportsmanship, but I was not surprised when Zelina just went for the kick and the cheap shot. Zelina escapes immediately, and Asuka's furious.
So we're going to jump into Apollo Crews versus Lashley. And I personally thought that I was expecting a bit more from this match. I thought it was still decent, with Lashley surprisingly dominating the majority of the match. This is where I was like, Apollo kind of looked like a chump. You know what I mean in this? Like
A little
whenever
bit, yeah.
whenever Apollo kind of went on a offensive spurt, the momentum was never on his side, as Lashley had an answer for basically like everything that Apollo had coming. And I remember
Yeah.
at one point, he does manage to escape a gut wrench, and he hits the standing moonsault and then a frog splash, but he only gets a 2 count. And then Lashley immediately gets up and he kind of hits him with a brutal looking choke slam, and then he puts him in the hurt lock for the win. So again,
And he
like,
taps immediately on that Hurt Lock. Like I don't even think it was fully locked in, and he tapped
yeah.
immediately, which I thought was a bit disappointing. There was some interaction with the managers in this
Hmm.
particular match, because Ricochet was out for Apollo and MVP was out for Bobby Lashley. MVP was just yelling at Apollo, taunting him. Ricochet kind of tried to break that up. Ricochet also kind of got into Bobby Lashley's face because Bobby Lashley taunted him. Maybe he
Yeah.
was looking for an easy DQ win. But yeah, like you said, there was a really beautiful like choke slam looking thing that was amazing, straight into the Hurt Lock for the win,
Yeah,
which we
again,
also
so
predicted correctly
we
as well.
did, and I
Lashley
don't
winning.
know what this means for Apollo Crews, but clearly the Hurt Business is on a high, and I'm thinking that this feud with Retribution is gonna kind of, go further and maybe implicate the U.S. title, something like that.
Maybe we'll see T-Bar as the U.S. champion. Who knows?
Who knows? He's been great
T-Bone
on
James.
Twitter. They've all been great on Twitter. It's just
Well, I mean, it's shit posting though, so I don't know how good it is long term. It's entertaining, but it's
yeah.
probably not good for the character. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
So we're gonna
we
jump
got
into Andrade and Angel Garza versus the Street Profits. The match was good, but we need to talk about that injury on Angel Garza. Like, he seemed to have messed up his knee or his leg pretty badly, which kind of led to a botch finish. So it's not really on
yeah.
them. It's not on Andrade. It's not on the Street Profits. I feel like maybe the ref put up an X, but I feel like maybe there was like a lack of communication, and Andrade didn't really know that he was not supposed to kick out or something. But in the early going, however, like, the heel team is on fire. They're firing on all cylinder. They're on the same page and they're working great. And you're like, oh wow, like, they might have a chance to win this. And that's
The
what you were
story was
telling me
great.
too. Yeah.
The
And
story was great. I felt like they were gonna win. My prediction was that they would win. Yours was that they would lose.
yeah.
But there was such good interaction between them. I remember Angel basically saves Andrade, who's like being thrown into the ropes with an Irish whip, and he holds him back so he can avoid getting hit.
Hmm.
All this little stuff early on made me feel like they were going to win. I wanted to root for them. Even though they were the heel team, they weren't doing super heelish tactics.
It's
Montez
true.
Ford is a god because he was basically beat down 3 instances in this match where he had to go for the hot tag, and every single time he got destroyed. He took a Spanish fly, he kicked out. It was insane, the
Yeah.
amount of punishment he took, and was still able to make the hot tag. But there was a lot of good teamwork from both teams, and the finish was where it was bizarre. After the final hot tag, it looked like Andrade was gonna get tagged in and like pick up momentum and win the match, but Angel was slow to tag him, and then he rolled out of the ring. That's where it looked like he had enough. And
Well, Angel basically could not even move his knee. Like, he was kind of
yeah,
like in a weird position, and I was like, "What? Why is he frozen up or something?" At first, I was like, "Oh, maybe it's a Charlie horse or something," but no. Like, the ref clearly put up an X, and uh,
yeah, he was very
hopefully,
slow to
yeah,
tag in. So there was like something that like he was too hurt to tag in immediately and
yeah.
capitalize. And then there was a huge like slam from Dawkins to Andrade where he goes for the pinfall. The ref is kind of in an awkward position because Andrade does kick out, but he doesn't see it. But you can see it on Dawkins' face that he's shocked at the kick out.
Yeah.
Tom Phillips is shocked because he also yelled kick out, but the bell rang and the match was over.
Yeah. So hopefully Angel is okay and they'll be able to revisit this. And if the outcome was for Andrade and Angel Garza to win this, I really hope that those plans, do go through eventually. But what's exciting though is that they announced that there's going to be a draft starting on Friday, October 9, and then following on October 12 on Monday Night Raw. I think it would be pretty cool for us to do maybe like a little video of our predictions of who's going to be drafted where, and maybe NXT and something like that.
Yeah, that could be cool. I have no idea right now, but I think we'll maybe get
I have a couple of
um,
ideas.
Maybe it'll start to become more obvious as we have a couple of episodes now post Clash of Champions to see like if there's some superstars that are like just lingering and not doing anything, and it looks like they're gonna leave.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm curious to hear what your predictions are early on.
You'll see. So we do have another backstage segment with Drew Gulak, and Drew Gulak basically says that, you know, he's like, my motto is always be alert. I was there doing my lunges up and down, and I just seized the moment when I saw R-Truth. I rolled him up, and I'm the new champion. And he would like to dedicate his victory to Akira, who was apparently eaten by a shark. And R-Truth...
I love that was that continuity there.
And R-Truth basically smacks him and pins him once again. And I think Michael Cole is the one... R-Truth. And I believe it's Michael Cole who said that, R-Truth won for the 100th time or something. That basically happened. It was quick, so I didn't really mind it.
Well, lucky us, we'd miss out on a women's tag match and not really a women's SmackDown women's title match, because as you'll see coming up, but we get two 24/7 title matches that are 3 seconds each.
Exciting stuff. So you did mention the SmackDown women's title. We have Bayley. She makes her way to the ring. And she comes out and she's like, it's sad news that Nikki has to compete, or Nikki can't compete, and that she has to forfeit her title opportunity. She's like, I even had a new gear for you, Nikki. That's weird.
Oh, but Bayley is...
You've turned green all of a sudden.
I've turned green.
Yes.
Like the Hulk.
Yeah, you turned green like the Hulk. Your whole screen is green. Turn off your webcam and then put it back on or something like that. Yeah, but I can still hear you, so I'm going to continue. And essentially, welcome back. So basically, she's like, I'm going to give the opportunity to anyone backstage to face me, and nobody shows up. So she's going to the ref, and she's like, come into the ring. She only gives her
like 3 seconds to show up.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, you know what, ref, come into the ring, raise my hand, and I won by forfeit. But wait, we hear Asuka's theme song hit. And I'm thinking to myself, man, Asuka goes from the pre-show to having 2 matches on the main card.
Asuka is unbelievable. You can't quit Asuka. Nobody's ready for Asuka.
Yeah.
This is not really a very long match either. Nothing really happens. Asuka looks like she's dominating early, but then Bayley goes for the arm and is able to start taking advantage. Asuka fights back, and then Bayley kind of exits the ring and is frustrated and pulls out the chair to go for the DQ.
Yeah. But what was exciting is what happened afterwards.
This is what I'm going to let you talk about, because I know you love this part so much.
Oh, yeah, because you know how I feel about Sasha. So we see a returning Sasha kind of hit Bayley in the back out of nowhere with the chair. She starts beating her down, but then Bayley kind of kicks her in the neck. And I'm thinking, Asuka, come on. Like, you're clearly not ready to come back. And then you kind of see Bayley kind of just kick her in the neck. And then there's like a little bit of a kerfuffle in the ring. Sasha escapes and she takes the kendo stick that Bayley brought. And she kind of starts whacking her with the kendo stick. And as she's about to hit her with a chair, Bayley retreats. And so Sasha came up strong on that one.
So do we get this prediction right because Bayley won, or retained rather, the SmackDown Women's Championship, or does it not count because she never had the opponent we expected?
Well, we said that Bayley would have won, but it was against Nikki Cross, so I feel like it's kind of unfair for us to...
Because Bayley technically lost against Asuka by DQ. But it doesn't really matter.
That's what I was gonna say. But yeah, so we'll just kind of take that as a win. I'm just gonna say that we won.
Yeah.
So now we have the ambulance match between Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton. So what I liked about this match is that yes, Drew is a face, but he's not one of those boring baby faces that basically is very naive and all that stuff. Like, he starts off the offense immediately with a bunch of strikes, a bunch of chops. Orton fights back, and then he kind of hits Drew McIntyre with a DDT, basically hurting his jaw, because let's not forget that in kayfabe, Drew McIntyre is still injured. He still has a broken jaw, or a fractured jaw, as they say.
You're missing an important detail, though. He hits him with a low blow, because Drew is kind of sent out of the ring and lands on the apron, and as he's getting in, Randy kicks the rope, which kind of low blows Drew, which allows him to hit that DDT.
That's true.
And now... This to me is pretty clever and interesting stuff, because I don't think it's ever happened before. Has there ever been an interference 3 minutes into a match? I don't know. Because Randy Orton sets up the punt, but someone grabs his foot, and we know who it is because it's a really, really large hand that grabs his foot.
I thought that it was a Retribution member. There you go.
But it was Big Show without a beard.
Looking like a baby.
On the announce. Looking like $1,000,000. Okay. And he chokeslams Randy Orton onto the announcer table. And this kind of allows Drew to rally, right? So now the match kind of moves toward the ambulance, and they're exchanging blows. And that's really good. I think at one point, doesn't Drew Claymore kick the ambulance driver's seat door off when he missed Randy Orton?
Well, yeah. So
this is important because he starts selling his knee for the rest of the match because his knee gets hurt from the kick. So it's very important.
That was great to the story of the ring of the match and the whole psychology of the match. Is Drew McIntyre kept selling that. He kept like punching his knee to kind of get like the flow going and to kind of get like the feeling going. But let's not forget though, before he kind of misses that Claymore, he hits a really brutal looking Glasgow kiss to the point where Randy Orton started like drooling or something like that. Like I mean, it's disgusting to see, but it's also so effective. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it helps. It really helps. It's a little gross, but it really helps.
And now then in the backstage area.
Yeah, they continue backstage after a few failed attempts of putting people into the ambulance and closing the door and whatnot. They continue backstage near catering because there's a bunch of food and there's a bunch of tables with food set up. And Randy Orton again picks up the advantage on Drew, and then it's Christian. He appears.
It's Christian.
And he attacks Randy Orton for a bit, beats him down, tosses him into the food, and then leaves, giving Drew again another opportunity to take advantage, just like how the Big Show did earlier. I think it's important to note that Randy Orton is always taking advantage in a heelish way, like he poked Drew in the eye at one point too.
Well,
then the action, yeah.
Well, the whole thing about the poking in the eye, you do bring up a good point, because actually what happens afterwards is that he pokes him in the eye and then he snaps him onto the windshield of the ambulance, cracking the windshield.
Yeah, they end up going on top of the ambulance. That happens. Drew's back is bloody. Yeah. And then they're on top of the ambulance. And this was a bit maybe over dramatic, but then Drew is like hanging on to the ambulance from the back, and
which is not a big distance, to be honest with you.
In a Lion King moment, in a very Lion King moment, Randy Orton, who is playing Scar here, like kicks him in both hands, and Drew just falls and plummets maybe 2 feet. But the camera was pointing it in such a way that it looked like a very long fall, and Randy Orton looked like he's on top of the world. And then what happens? He turns around and he gets super kicked by HBK.
No, it's also not. Don't call it a super kick. Come on now. You know what the move is.
Sweet chin music.
Thank you.
But is it the sweet chin music if he doesn't start stomping repeatedly to set it up?
I don't know. I feel like everyone does. I feel like everyone has the super kick in their moveset now, but nobody hits it like HBK.
Well, because his is a finisher and the other ones are just signature moves, so they're not the same.
That's true.
Randy Orton's teetering and he's about to fall, and HBK, just kind of like pushes him, gives him the little push he needs to fall off and land onto a bunch of tables. And at this point, I'm expecting Edge to show up too. And it doesn't quite happen. And I thought maybe, I'm like, okay, if Edge is not going to help Drew, is Edge going to help Randy in a shocking twist?
Okay.
Randy almost gets the win because he tosses Drew into the ambulance and is about to close the last door in a very dramatic fashion, but Drew puts his hand and pushes and fights back and pokes Randy in the eye to stop him, which was a kind of nice payback. Drew's back is all bloody. Eventually, Drew is able to claymore Randy Orton, tosses him in the ambulance, but decides he's not quite ready to win the match and kind of pulls him out a bit, so he's like hanging, and Drew gives him a massive punt and tosses him in for the win.
And that was the cherry on top.
Drew is still your champion.
We were wrong.
About.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy. I was so happy to see it. I was rooting for him. Mm-hmm. And a nice little touch at the end was when the ref taps on the ambulance to have it drive off. Who's driving off, even though there's no driver's seat door and the windshield is completely cracked? None other than Ric Flair.
Yeah, Ric Flair. And he said that he's going to respect the speed limit or something like that.
He better. He can't. He's going to have to be driving with his head tilted out because the windshield is broken completely. But
yeah.
Hey,
oh my God.
Ric Flair can drive, right?
Yeah. So my thoughts of the match was that, to be honest with you, like I feel like this was a really, really good match. It was an excellent match. I like the fact that like you have a babyface that's not an idiot. Like he's using the rules to his advantage, and he's a badass. He's shit talking. Like there's a lot of good things, that we get to see from Drew McIntyre, and I'm happy that he actually gets to keep the title. Because, again, like it'll be really sad if Drew McIntyre is not able to celebrate this with real fans in an arena.
No, he is the greatest WWE champion we've had in a long time. I don't want his run to end. it really felt like Randy Orton had all the momentum going for him. But the way they executed this match and the story behind it made it so Randy Orton can lose and not look like it was damaging to him at all, because it was just basically all of his past sins coming back to haunt him, and it was like it wasn't an easy win for Drew. So I think it was one of the best ways to kind of book the match.
But see, this is why it kind of made me feel like that Randy Orton kind of felt like a final boss.
Yeah.
That it took 3 other companions for Drew McIntyre to beat Randy Orton. But again, like, that's just the way that the story was told. I understand why it was done. And at the end of the day, like, yes, it is wrestling, but it's also storytelling. And I thought that it was really, really well told. So overall, I thought that was an excellent match. And we're going to jump into our final match. We have Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. And
Roman Reigns cannot show up late to this one, let me tell you. He has to be there on time, right?
So Jey Uso, he comes out. He's wearing a lei. I believe it's called a lei. And he's pumped up and he's ready to go.
Flower necklace.
Yeah. And
it is called that.
Roman comes out and he's not wearing a Shield vest. He's not wearing a shirt either. He's shirtless.
But he
and
still
he's
has
looking...
the Shield music.
Yes. But
I'm a bit disappointed.
He said in his interview, he's like, it's all in due times. He's like, you're going to see a new look on Sunday, which we did, right? We got to see shirtless, jacked Roman. And he said that, like, something significant has to happen for me to change my theme song. And he's like, it's an evolution. It's like, it's not going to happen right away. So just give it time and he will get a new theme song. He confirmed that he is going to get a new theme song eventually.
I'm excited for that when that happens. And yeah, it would be nice if there's some sort of thing that would trigger a change in music rather than just be out of the blue.
So the beginning of the match, it's a little slow. Like, they're basically circling each other in the ring. You know, they kind of get eye to eye. They retreat. Roman is kind of going a little easy on him a little bit. You know what I mean? But Roman is doing all these moves, and it looks like he's not even breaking a single sweat. And Jey Uso is kind of like, man, like, what did I kind of get myself into? And Roman is kind of beating the crap out of him. You know, hits him with a Superman punch that looked really brutal. And then he kind of goes to him and he kind of, goes on his knee and he's talking to Jey at this point. And you can see that the mic was kind of amplified so we can hear what they were talking about, because that's usually not the case. And
the talking was very good and very effective in this match.
But he was like, I told you to just take your payday, take the ass whooping, and just stay down, just lay down. And, Jey kind of won't listen to him, and then he chops him, and I'm like, oof, Jey, that was a bad move.
But he did not respect the chop at all. He just kept beating him down.
Yeah, and then he puts him down. Yeah.
Where Jey rallies and hits frog splash and does a bunch of stuff, and it was so good because it's like you really wanted Jey to win because Roman was just kind of a douche here, but it was just not even close.
No, but I mean, it's true that it wasn't close, but I actually liked the valiant effort that Jey kind of put towards the middle and towards the end of the match. Like, you really saw him, like, he was actually trying, and Roman was like, oh my god. And the best thing is the way that Paul Heyman reacts to everything that Roman does. I legit feel like Paul Heyman is afraid of Roman Reigns. Because at one point, Roman Reigns was like, listen, he's like, I'm not going to end this, because the ref is like, just end it. Like, you're hitting him spear after spear. And Roman's like, no, this is family matter. You stay out of it. He's like, I'm not going to end this until you say that I'm the tribal chief. Right?
There was something important, too, to note. When Jey hits the frog splash on Roman Reigns, he kicks out in such a way that it looks like he low blows
you're right.
Jey, which was kind of dirty. But yeah, to fast forward to that, like, I think Roman hits the spear and doesn't pin him and is basically telling Jey, acknowledge me as the tribal chief and take your payday. And he doesn't want to do it. And Paul Heyman's like, I acknowledge you as the tribal chief. And Roman's like, no, I don't care. I know you do. He has to do it.
He has to do it. And Jey basically goes on the camera, but let's not forget that at one point, though, which I thought was really effective, is Roman is kind of just basically grabbing Jey from, like, his hair, and he's like, look at the camera, the family's watching right now, our family's watching, your kids and everything like that. And he's like, just say it, I'm the tribal chief. And Jey was like, not today, Us. And I was like, oh my god, I really wanted Jey to win so badly at that moment. Like, obviously I knew that he wasn't going to win, but
they did such a good job.
They did such a great job.
Jimmy Uso shows up with the towel.
Yeah.
And Roman's like, okay, you acknowledge me as the tribal chief. And Jay's like, don't do it, don't throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Jimmy just doesn't want his brother to get absolutely destroyed anymore. And Roman keeps beating him down, like ground pound, just beat down over and over. And eventually he does throw in the towel. just to save his brother. And then he kind of says, like, okay, you're the tribal chief. Is that what you wanted? Was this worth it?
Yeah, we're
And Roman
family.
Roman just stares him down and then like raises his hand as the champion. It was
Just
pretty smug and gross from Roman Reigns.
so I'm just gonna say a couple of things about this pay-per-view because yes, we have wrapped up the show. That's basically how it ended. The ladder match for me, I think it's gonna be a ladder match that we're gonna be talking for a long time because it was very creative. The way that it ended, I think all three men did an incredible job. I think that the Asuka Zelina Vega match was really good, and I'm really excited to see, some more matches from Zelina because I feel like Zelina kind of gave me some AJ Lee vibes, to be quite honest with you. But again, like a very, very green AJ Lee, but again, like just getting there. Like I feel like she might get there because she's like kind of like the same height and she kind of has like a similar maybe moveset, or I can see her kind of implementing some of her moveset for her own. The ambulance match with Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton, my opinion of it was that it kind of made Randy look too powerful and Drew kind of look a little weak, but I understand why they did it and I thought it was really effective. It was a really great match. But that main event for me, this main event, this solidifies Roman Reigns as a true heel. Like, I remember during our prediction and on SmackDown, during our recap, I said that I want to see a bloodbath. I want to see blood and all that kind of stuff. But I think that this was more effective. The fact that Roman was slow, he was stalking his prey, and the way that he was shit-talking him, the way he was like, look at the camera, call me a tribal chief, and Jay's kind of just fighting back. I thought this was, like, as a wrestling match, it was okay. But it was decent. But I feel like as a storytelling, as an entertainment, thing, I think that this definitely hit it out of the park, and for me it's like an A+ right there.
Yeah, agreed. I did find that the main event started off slow, found it a bit boring, but yeah, the way they finished it was really solid, and it wasn't a bloody beatdown like you maybe wanted, but
Yeah.
like it was pretty brutal. Like it was like very brutal. And then the commentary even says, well, if this is what Roman Reigns will do to his family, just imagine what he'll do to someone who's not his family.
But that's the thing.
Imagine he beats up like his non-family members less. Well, it's my family, so obviously they can take a bigger beating than the other guys. No, but clearly when he goes after, like, it's gonna be very interesting when maybe we'll see Fiend and Roman in Hell in a Cell at the next pay-per-view. Like, if that's it, that's gonna be pretty interesting.
It should be pretty interesting. I don't see Roman losing that title for at least a little while. But yes, that was our recap for Clash of Champions. Again, they are doing such an incredible job with the pay-per-views, man. Like, it's so effective. And yes, like this one was 3 hours. It was a little longer than the one that we had previously, Payback. But I think that this went by smooth.
How come this is 3 hours and enjoyable and Raw is 3 hours and not so enjoyable?
Because they talk too much. That's the problem. There's too many segments. There's too much backstage stuff. There's too much Raw Underground. Like, it's just, and there's too many commercials too. Let's not forget that commercials kind of halts the action for me. You know what I mean? It kind of puts me away from the match, and then I kind of pick up my phone, and then I'm in it, and I'm not watching, and I don't know. Like, I feel like it kind of takes away from the...
Absolutely, immersion breaking is a commercial.
Yeah.
It's like watching a movie with a commercial. It's terrible.
Yeah. Well, we're going to be signing off, and if you do enjoy our content, make sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. You'll find all the information in the description box below. I feel like it's kind of getting tedious, so you can find everything...
Do this,
yeah, there you go. You just do this, just do this, and then click on the subscribe and be happy. But click on the like and everything.
We would do it for you. We would do it for you if we could. Like, give us your credentials, we'll sign in for you, or we won't.
But yeah, we'll see you guys in the next one for the Raw recap.
So Retribution did not show up at all at the Clash of Champions, which I think is totally fine.
Maybe Big Show is actually a new member for like Retribution, and that's just. Like, Big Show is the face, and then he's gonna turn heel on Monday Night Raw.
But he's already got a Retribution-like name. He's Big Show.
There you go.
I'm the Big Show. It's perfect. T-Bar, Big Show, Mace,
oh Lord,
Slapjack, all these great legendary names. Imagine when they get inducted to the Hall of Fame. And now to induct T-Bar into the Hall of Fame.